Let's cue the music and start that word chat.
All right, welcome everybody. Great to see you here for another That Word Chat. Today we have maybe a little bit different this time. We've got well, it's definitely different because who has done something like this? We have Nick Norlen, who has sort of as a special passion project, has created a magazine called Paper Airplane. And it's the idea is it's a grown-up version of the magazines you used to enjoy as a kid. So it has cartoons or maybe graphic stories. It has puzzles. It has a lot of interesting things in it, a lot of interesting reading. I'm reminded of highlights or what my one big one for me was Scholastic's Bananas in the when I was in middle school. Anyway, Nick is founder and editor of this magazine. He was recently senior editor at dictionary.com. So he helped with the editorial content there and worked on the word of the year stories and information, like something that we're big on here. We always like to talk about the word of the year every year. And it's the magazine is cool because it has former Word Chat guests. Kory and Erin McKean are both featured in there in their first episode. So anyway, Nick, welcome. Glad to talk to you.
Thank you, Mark. So glad to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's start with the obvious question. What was the inspiration? And I suppose this is probably a detailed answer because you said this is something that you've been sort of working up to your whole life. But what made you think to do something like this?
Yeah, I would say it's a culmination of my editorial career, kind of, and just my interests really. So I was working at dictionary.com. I was senior editor, as you mentioned. I was laid off, and anyone who's been laid off will tell you that you have a lot of time to think about all the creative projects you want to do. I tried to treat my layoff as a sabbatical. At first it was kind of a joke. I'm on sabbatical right now. I'm going to go out and ride my bike and take a walk in the woods. But I really tried to make it true. I tried to make that a serious thing to think about what did I really want to do, along with, of course, applying for hundreds of jobs in this media job market. So at a certain point, when I wasn't getting a lot of traction in the job market, I thought, I want to try something different. And that thing I had been also thinking about for a long time was, I love magazines. A lot of people here are editors. They probably love publications, and that's why they got into this business. But there was never one for me that was the ideal magazine. And I was trying to explain it to my wife what that would be like for me. And you touched on this, but I said, it would be like a grown-up version of highlights, like highlights for adults. And as soon as I said that, it was kind of one of those moments where it's like, oh, well, now I need to make that happen. And so the last several months has been figuring out how to make that happen. And there's been a lot of steps along the way. So that was really the inspiration. Once I kind of had that idea, it was succinct enough that I knew it was right. I knew that people would respond to that. I think there's a lot of appetite out there for kind of independent, really handcrafted human publications. So that's what I'm after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think handcrafted is a nice way to put it because it's very very much the creative abilities of the people who are who you've asked to contribute to this, and it shows here. It's not uh, in the journalistic sense of an article somebody writes about something. It's somebody's putting themselves in the true sort of magazine journalism tradition of putting themselves into the article. Some completely, some more than others. But so you, I mean, is there another magazine that is similar or is at all comparable?
I would say that this magazine takes elements of ones that I love. But the reason I made it is because I don't think there is one that does what this does. I love long form writing. I love, articles from the New Yorker. I love the Believer. I love, elements, of course, of highlights and games and puzzles. I love, there's some dashes of Mad Magazine in there, just some pure, silly stuff. But I don't think it exists in one place like it does here. And that's the point. I wanted to do something that was, for adults, but I didn't want it to be cynical. I didn't want it to be kind of smug or dark. I wanted it to be something that people could spend time with and really feel better after spending time with it, because so much of the media we consume is kind of the opposite. So I think I described it somewhere as the exact opposite of doom scrolling. So that's what I'm going for with every page. And so to answer your question, no, I don't think so. I don't think this exists anywhere else. So I'm glad to kind of bring it to life. And so far, I've been really happy with the response from people who seem to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. So how did you, we should probably, I'm just going to share, and I just want to show a little bit of the magazine because I feel like people ought to have a look at what we're talking about. We'll just do this really briefly. We can, and then go back and talk about the individual elements. But the magazine, you're right. I mean, it doesn't have anything in there that it's not that it's light exactly, but it doesn't focus on maybe some of the things that are causing us consternation these days. The
phrase I like to use is low stakes. It's low stakes, but high quality.
Yeah.
So here's, I'll kind of do a play by play here. There's your table of contents page, and this what I really hoped to kind of come across here is what you're getting into, and it's a bit maximalist, but it shows kind of the fun that you're going to have. One of my favorite features that we did was a section called Choice Cuts, which is I posed a question to journalists and authors, what is the most interesting thing you've ever had to cut from a piece of your writing? So I think this audience will particularly enjoy that. We have contributions in there from Mary Roach. You see a photo right there of marine biologist Helen Scales. This really great anecdote by science journalist Anna Gibbs. And then this piece right here by Kory Stamper, who is a friend of mine. We worked together at dictionary.com. And I'll credit this with kind of really helping the magazine take shape, because when I told Kory about the idea, even before I asked, she immediately offered to write something for me. And then she pitched this idea, which is about kind of the history of how people have thought about the shape of color of the spectrum, how they've tried to represent it. You see that in some of the great illustrations here. And I couldn't have asked for a better, lead article to kind of, this is what we're all about at the magazine. And so when that happened, I thought, I actually have to make this good. Kory's going to write for me. People love Kory. And so, I got a yes from Kory. I got, Mary Roach responded right away. And so when that happened, it started to snowball. And, I was lucky to get some just absolutely fantastic contributors, like world class. I was kind of shocked at who I was able to get for this magazine, like really award-winning people. And you can see it on the pages, and that's, writers and artists and photographers, all human. I'll emphasize that, all human artists, which I think also people are craving right now. So it was really a thrill to see that come together. And Mark, what you just showed was only, like, I think the first probably dozen, 15 pages to show, and there's about
Yeah,
74 pages.
70, right, 74 pages. It's not a small endeavor. And it's got cool, I mean, it's just the kind of cool stuff you can, I do wish it were a print magazine. Of course, you can print out the PDF.
That is my number one request. It's my number one question. Are you going to do print? I can tell you just today, I was looking into the feasibility of that. And it's looking very likely that I will be able to offer. I can't promise it, but it's looking
Yeah.
very likely like I'll be able to offer a print version
Right.
when I launch the subscription. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, subscription's coming. That's great.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
this,
So right
so this
now,
it's not a one-off.
no, I mean, in fact, when I started, I didn't have all these grand plans. I wanted to do a project. I was really itching for creative collaboration. When you're laid off, you miss those projects you're working on. The big editorial things. You're working with designers and writers and editors, and I missed that. And I kind of also was looking around at the state of things. I wanted to do something tangible, help people who need it. And so I came up with this project. The first issue is entirely for charity. Supports a group called the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants. It's an NGO. But people really responded to it. And so then I thought, well, I'd like to try to keep doing this. So very soon I'll be launching a crowdfunding campaign to fund the magazine as a quarterly. And like I said, one of the options I hope to offer is a print edition, because I think people see that type of color, they want to hold it in their hands and do the puzzles, things like that. So I'm hoping to make that a reality.
Right. And it's kind of like a companion thing where you leave it on the coffee table and keep going back to it. You don't necessarily go cover to cover in one read, especially the
Right,
puzzles.
and that's what I love. That's how I treat magazines too. I like it to be there. I like it to sometimes pick it up, put it down, but I like to pour over it when I do that. And that's what it's designed for. It's really a magazine for me and people like me who are going to enjoy that type of experience. Keeping it on their side table. Pick it up when they want.
Right. Well, I was wondering, especially with the cost of print, my mind's running through how do you possibly make money on something like that? But a crowdsourcing approach probably makes a lot of sense for people who appreciate that sort of thing. They can't get it anywhere else. And I can see that being successful. Maybe some of our viewers are interested in being a part of something like that also.
Oh, sure. I sure hope so. Yeah, I just feel right now is the right time for it. I think people are craving this type of experience. We talked about it. There's not a lot of places to get it. And especially, this is a great audience for it because we all love publications. We all love the printed word and just human creativity.
Right, right. So what magazines did you mentioned Highlights? Is that your main go-to magazine during your youth?
That was the big one, and my kids get it now, and
Oh,
so
wow.
it still has the same vibe, which is great. Goofus is still goofusing, and there's all kinds of just great low stakes but high quality stuff in there. So that was the one I think for me. There was a lot of other inspirations from when I was a kid. Calvin and Hobbes was big for me at a certain stage. The Far Side. I didn't have much Mad Magazine at the time, but I certainly try to throw some dashes of that in. There was Cricket. I didn't have a subscription, but I think maybe some of my friends did. And then you mentioned Scholastic stuff, and then Usborne puzzle books. If anybody's familiar with those, there's so many things. I try to bring it all in there because that's what I want it to be. But I want it to be modern and for grown-ups.
Right. And there used to be newspapers used to do a kids page, which would be a whole bunch of, might be a quiz on current events and then puzzles and cartoons and spot the difference, that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's planned for next time? I mean, you got a whole bunch of really cool people in this one.
I,
That drew
I
me to it.
I do, and in fact, a lot of those cool people will be back for issue number two. I've been in talks with them already. To do more comics. I've got some new people on board that I'll be revealing pretty soon that are very exciting. I'm fans of all these people, and again, I was just so fortunate to get them to be part of this project. I have the person who drew the maze in this in issue number one. She'll be back, Michelle Bogus Nunley. She's the Guinness World Record holder for hand drawn mazes. So that's the caliber of person I have working on the maze, and it's this is the kind of thing that I like to spend my time with, and so to get people to produce original content, it was really thrilling for me.
Right,
But a lot of folks will be back, and we'll have some new ones as well.
right. So, yeah, let me show this. Where is this maze? Um, this is I don't want to do the wrong thing. This is the escape this page thing with the three-dimensional.
Well, yeah, we also have what I call an escape page. That was the concept for it. Basically, a long form riddle, really.
Yeah.
That. Don't worry, it has hints. It's quite difficult. It's meant for grown-ups, and that was made by Sandy Wise, who's the commissioner of something called the Mystery League. He is a game maker, and he right now has just released the game called Rattle, which I highly recommend if you haven't played it yet. Raddle. And then he made this, and a friend of mine, an artist named Lauren Hottinger, is a fantasy cartographer.
Mhm.
So I knew this project would be perfect. And then here's the maze. I have it. It's vertical, but you can rotate it to the when you get the document, you can rotate this to be
That's
horizontal
not,
orientation.
that button wasn't rotate. I never know what the right button is in Adobe Acrobat.
And you just got a glimpse of the cover there by artist
Yeah.
Caitlin Brito, which she will be back again. She was my number one choice, and she was excited to do it. So we're continuing to collaborate on the next issue.
Mhm. Um, yeah, and I see the cover is on the board behind you.
Yes.
The ice cream thing there. So how do you know these people from your work at dictionary.com? I know Kory was there. Um,
I knew Kory. I knew Erin McKean. I did not know, and there was a few friends who did some artwork for me, but otherwise, no. I cast my net very wide. I sent out cold emails to a lot of people, and but I did get just some of my absolute favorites. To do a project like this, you really do have to you know reach out to a lot of people. People are busy. People are have deadlines. They have other projects going on. So I it was something where I knew I had to do that, but I was also very excited with the response I got. I think a few things about it resonated with people. It was the fact that it was for charity. They loved the concept, the kind of grown up magazine that you loved as a kid, and the fact that the magazine is entirely AI free. I think that those three things are really what resonated with a lot of the people that I reached out to. But it wasn't like I just knew these 30 people and said, "Hey, we're doing this. Come on board." It took quite a bit more than that to get them, but it was like I was back in the thick of things. So that was exciting to me to be able to collaborate again with all these great creative people and kind of work on ideas and see themes emerge throughout the magazine. For example, the comics artists, I didn't tell them to make three perfectly complementary comics for this issue. That's just kind of what came out of it, and it really came out to be a tribute to human creativity and natural beauty and just the small moments and things like that. So it was really great to see it take shape. from people who don't know each other and who I didn't know before I got involved with this.
Right. So when we started doing that word chat, I mean, one thing people often say is they're amazed at the caliber of guest we managed to get. And I think a lot of it, and I used to joke that this is just, I'm just asking my friends to come on and talk. But people are very open to talking about themselves. Obviously, they like there's the ego thing, but there's also sort of that pleasure of connecting with people who are, you said it, of the same thinking, the same, we're all editorial people here, focused on words, and so this sort of stuff resonates. And I find that people are very open to coming on just to be able to talk to those people.
Yeah, and that's really how I sought people out. I was looking for like-minded folks whose work reflected the same type of vibe that I wanted to produce with the magazine.
Mhm.
And that was both because that's what I like, but also because I knew that those people would be into a project like this. And for so many of them to say yes was like it made me encouraged me to keep kind of going. Okay, I'm going to make this even better and better. And so that was really the core of taking this on, was to be able to collaborate with those folks.
Okay. I think we have a question in the room. I'm not sure. Are any?
We have any questions come in? Just a reminder, I know we went through in the beginning, but query is the best way to. And I just have to say, I'm so excited to see this magazine and so excited to have you on as the guest today. Like flipping through it, there's so many beautiful pieces, and it's exactly what you're hoping to find, like those little morsels and nuggets of something beautiful and fun to just like liven up the everyday. It's chef's kiss. It's so refreshing. Refreshing is the word I keep coming back to.
Oh, thank you, Heather. That's really nice of you to say. And I'm so glad you mentioned the little nuggets of things, because when I'm looking through a magazine, that's what I want to find. I want to find the little touches of things that really are like well wrought. I think so much now I'm just disappointed by mediocrity in a lot of media. So I wanted every page to kind of have this little thing that you could find, little Easter egg or visual pun, or just make it interesting. I just want something that's interesting and fun. That's how you make me happy. So I'm glad other people are responding to that.
What is that a kind? Have you heard that kind of response? I mean, Heather is clearly it brings her joy, and that must be very gratifying. Have you had that kind of response?
I have, yeah, and that's what it makes it so exciting, that I think this there's a wider audience for this once I have more people find out about it. So yes, and that's typically the response, is that it's cheerful, it's joyful, that it's kind of something that people enjoy spending time with, and like I said before, they feel better after spending time with that.
Mm-hmm. It is a lot of your, are you getting a lot of feedback though, or is it sort of this thing where you put it out there and maybe people subscribe? I mean, I never sent you a note to say, I love the magazine. I, sent you a note to say I'd love to have you on that word chat. But is that something that, because, I mean, it's not a mass production thing. You're not watching people walking down the street reading it. Do you feel like you're disconnected from the feedback at all?
Well, no, because I have got a good amount, and I talk about it with friends and colleagues. I do ask people what they liked best about it. So if people in this group want to reach out to me, please do. I'd love to hear what you liked, what was your favorite part, because as I go forward, those will be the things that I include. Now, Mark, you say you didn't send me a note. That's okay. I'll Now, the good news is, this is a little bit of preview of the next one. If we have a print version, I'm planning to have the back cover be postcards that you'll be able to send out, either to send in your art or your poetry to the magazine or to anyone you want.
Oh,
Mark, you can send yours to me.
okay.
um,
Well, that's fun.
but yeah, the feedback has been great. Of course, as a creative person, that's what you crave for any project you do. I think that's the number one thing people want to hear, what people liked about it. So having heard some of that, it's been really great.
Yeah. And it just, now you mentioning that, it makes me realize that's the one aspect that you did see in those magazines, especially highlights, was you had reader contributions, readers sending their poems, their drawings, things like that.
Yeah.
You're going to do a little bit of that, perhaps?
Yeah, because for two reasons. One, I know that first of all, my daughter looks it came yesterday, and within minutes she was looking to see if her art was in there. Fingers crossed it'll be in
Yeah.
there next month. But I think people are also looking for a low stakes creative outlets. So that's something I want to encourage with the magazine is, and this is something an approach I tried to take with this is not everything has to be perfect. I wanted to have it have the spirit of a zine, really. As much as it's wrought, I want it to have kind of a free flowing spirit of creativity and trial and error and just fun stuff. So I want to give that opportunity to people too, even if it's just a doodle or a poem that they dash off and send either digitally or in the mail. I think people are looking for that. A lot of people are, they want those disconnected off-screen times where they're working with their hands or just writing something in a notebook. So I want to give people that opportunity to do that.
Right. Okay. And I should suggest that when you are looking for contributors, look at the list of people who have appeared on that word chat, because honestly, there's so
Well,
I mean, there's so many writers.
Already it's been great for me. So and I know a few more. So
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm thinking about we've done some puzzle episodes. We do the word of the year, of course, every year. Let's talk about that. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but well, let me back up a little bit. So I was laid off in 2009 from the Columbus Dispatch, and that's it was an opportunity. I got a great buyout package for only having been there a few years. I got all my vacation. I ended up working lots of overtime because they actually gave us 3 months notice. It was a very pleasant, kind layoff, but it's still hard. I mean, it's still when you're used to that daily job and making money and having that career, to then say, well, situations have changed. I'm not going to find another job like that I would enjoy so much in this town. So I'm going to freelance. But that must be, have you been through this before, the layoff experience? And because it sounds like you actually, when you say treat it as a sabbatical, that's one thing that they say, try not to be stressed, try to use it as an opportunity to do something for yourself.
Yeah, that would be my number one piece of advice to people is don't look for jobs all day long. Just don't do that to yourself. Have some structured periods of non-productive time. And that's where your best ideas are going to come from anyhow. But no, this was my first experience with the layoff. It was tough because we had such a great squad. It was we were doing great things, and working with great people. And I immediately missed that. But it was my first time. I had been working in the world of online dictionaries for almost 17 years, I think. And so it was kind of apparent that, things were going to change. I wanted to look for something different. And that's what this grew out of, really, is really taking a long time to think about, what do I want to do? I want to, in general, be able to have my own platform. I don't want to rely on the kind of whims or winds of kind of corporate structure. I'm not going to lay myself off. I'll tell you that, Mark. so that was kind of part of it, just thinking about, here's what I've done, here's what I liked about what I've done, but where do I want to go from there? And a lot of that came from having periods of time to um, not just be applying for jobs or looking for jobs, or doing things, as part of the job search. I really gave myself some time um, to really just to think and not think really.
Right, right. And we get the benefit from it. And you wrote the intro course. I assume, did you put it all together? Did you do the editorial layout design, or was that?
Yes. So I had all these contributors, but the layout was all me. Um, and that was fun. I saw a question in the chat about how I did it. So for me, I'm not a very technical person. I'm learning, and that's the interesting thing about this is I'm acquiring new skills. Even editorially, I had never really edited a comic before, which is entirely different in terms of how you're giving feedback and how that's going to progress, both with copy edits and developmentally about how the visuals look. Then there's editing a puzzle. That's a totally different skill set. Especially one as complex as this that really opened my eyes to, wow, you thought about this so much, more so that I even understood it at first. Um, but in terms of tools, for me, I'm the kind of person who um, I don't want to spend a lot of time researching what's the best. I just want to start using something, and if it works, I will keep using it. So I'm not a person who's going to use, the Adobe suite. That's too opaque for me. I'm not a professional designer. I guess I am now by default, but
Yeah,
um,
yeah, by
so
definition.
I use the simpler the tool, the better. If I could have used Microsoft Paint, I would have, but no, I use tools like Canva and other kind of similar things, and just tinkered with them. That's what I love to do is tinkering, and so to be able to tinker with layout, with design, with placement of images, that for me was one of the most fulfilling things about getting work from other people and then trying to make it shine as best I could.
Okay, I think we have a couple of questions from the room, and I want to make sure we don't. I tend to keep talking, and I don't want to ignore those. If you have a question for Nick Norlen about the process, about the inspiration, about anything, if you have a comment about your own love of this sort of magazine as a youth, please just ask in the chat. You can write query, and we'll call on you to ask in the room. But let's see, who do we have to ask, Heather?
We have Mary Norris with a question.
Okay. So I hate to be one of those people who only talks about herself when she asks a question. But I wonder if you've heard of a magazine called Wigwag. It was out for like 2 years, 1989 to 91. And I actually left the New Yorker to work at Wigwag. And it was a great adventure. And it sounded so much like what you do, especially the idea of having postcards on the back. Like there was a feature of maps of people's lives. It was just before the internet. And so it was never scanned onto the internet. So there are just few issues available to people who used to work there. But anyway, I would want your magazine to be in print. I would want to see it on paper. And I know what deep pockets it takes to do that, right? So
Yes.
I think your idealism is wonderful, and it's a great idea. And I will contribute to your GoFundMe. Okay?
Thank you, Barry. Well, that's amazing, and I haven't heard of that magazine, but I'm going to track it down now. I need to see that because that sounds incredible, and it's cool that there's been that type of idea, you know, around before. I'm happy to bring it back, and I will do my best to put it in print for you.
See, the time I was laid off was when Wigwag folded. So that's when I did what you were doing, which was take a sabbatical and try to figure out what I should do. but I ended up going back to the New Yorker after 2 years. Because I got tired of not getting paid for holidays, basically.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know about that too. Yeah. Mary, are you working on a book now?
I actually am, but I don't
Okay.
dare say anything
Well,
about it.
you should maybe write an article about that based on that for the next issue or for a future issue of Paper Airplane. And
Okay.
okay, I'm making connections here. We have another question, Heather.
We do, yeah. Greg, if you wanted to unmute and ask your question.
Great, thank you. Hi, everybody. Hi, Nick. Nick and I are friends. Um, Question here. Sorry if you got it already. I joined a little late. But what was most surprising for you in the whole process and also in the finished product?
Thanks, Greg. Most surprising. Well, I think, yeah, I'll give you a small one and then I'll probably try to think of a bigger one. But, like I said before, I reached out to a lot of people for this magazine. And, one of the first ones I reached out to was Mary Roach. I love her writing, the type of topics she does. Mary Roach got back to me within a day. And, that's in, I say to, especially to younger, editorial folks, no one responds to the first email. Like nobody's, we're all too busy for that. Right. So for her to respond that quickly and be so excited about it and say, yes, I'll get you that right away, which she did, was one of the moments where I thought, I can make this happen. Otherwise, surprising stuff. I think I surprised myself with what problems I could solve if I just kept working at them. I had the time, so it's all a matter of to keep picking at it. Tinkering is what I like to do. So if there's some kind of problem I need to work out, and most of the time, most of the hurdles I needed to go past, if I spent enough time, I realized, oh, it's actually simpler than I thought. I actually don't have to have some kind of fancy software presentation of this. It actually looks great in a PDF on a tablet. And if anyone here has gotten the magazine, if you look at it on your iPad, I think it looks great. You can look at it in Apple Books or just a PDF viewer. You can page through it with a swipe. Things like that. So that was what surprised me is a lot of the times I didn't need some complicated solution to something. It was actually the simpler the better, which is how I was able to pull it off. Really, is keeping it as simple as possible.
Did you leave anything out of this magazine?
Do you mean did I have to cut anything? Is that what you're?
Yeah.
Not really. No. I would say there was certain maybe ideas I had that I didn't get to that I'm saving for other issues, but I wouldn't say there was any cuts. I would say I got to the point where I wanted it to be about this long. There was I have a series of photographs, for example, here, and I'm extremely picky with that. Once I got a few of them, I realized what other ones I wanted to kind of complete the sequence. And that took a lot of reaching out to photographers to get. So there was certainly ones I wasn't able to get there, but there was nothing I left out, on the cutting room floor.
Okay. At least one more question.
Yeah, we have Neil up with a question.
Hi, Nick. Thank you for speaking. And I ask this with the mindset that you are an inspiration for doing something that you want to do the way you want to do it. So my question is, are you still looking for a full-time job, or do you hope this becomes your full-time job? I know you're freelancing now to, pay the bills and
Right.
everything, but what are your hopes, or what, do you think this, I guess, do you fear that you're not going to be able to do this, or do you hope that you can, or are you hopeful, or?
Yeah, I would say I'm in the middle there. I'd love for it to be my full-time job. I'm also realistic about this is a gradual build. So I try to celebrate anything as a win that I can. So every time I get one more reader, that's exciting for me. So, and that's really how I'm trying to build my audience, is really one at a time. But I do feel that that has the potential to grow. Um, I try to think of it. One of the ways I try to think of it is, there's 50 states. I'm U.S. based. Someone had asked. I'm outside of Philly. If I get just 20 people from every state, that's 1,000 readers, right? And that would be, pretty close to sustainable for me. So at the same time, I'm still freelancing. I'm working on part-time work to kind of balance the two, which I think would really be a great kind of arrangement. It's kind of the arrangement that I would want. That way, I'm still collaborating with people on a kind of a day-to-day basis, but then also doing my passion project in the meantime. So it's really in the middle, and I'm try not to think about too much whether it's going to work out in the long term. I'm just enjoying doing it now, and then we'll see what happens. We'll see what's next. It's really a one step at a time type thing. That's how, especially with having been laid off, that's I have felt is the best way to approach it. Because if I look too far down the road, it's hard to anticipate what could happen.
Just go with it, right? Just go with it.
That's right. Yeah, that's really the model for the magazine. Is just like just keep going, just keep making it, and then eventually things will build up.
And and if you go to the web, I mean, you're collecting a mailing list, I assume. If you go to the website, you can sign up for this issue. What was the cost of it? It's a donation.
Yeah, so it's donation only. It's a minimum of $25. You can donate as much as you want, but minimum donation of $25.
Right. And I'm sorry, who is it going to?
It's called the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants. It's an NGO. They help with all kinds of services, including legal and things like that. It's really a great organization, one I'm happy to support.
So you did an article for this magazine. You did the intro, of course, but you also did 6 Degrees of Kevin to Bacon. I can't remember how you phrased it exactly.
That's right. It's 6 degrees from Kevin to Bacon. So it's something I had actually wanted to do way back at dictionary.com. Never got a chance to. But the idea is, if everyone here is familiar with the Kevin Bacon game, which is you choose an actor and see how many steps it takes to link that actor to Kevin Bacon, due to his ubiquity in big cast movies. Ideally in 6 steps or fewer. So I riffed on that. I did that game, but with words. So I linked the word Kevin to the word bacon using all kinds of, there's no rules because I made it up. So etymology or pop culture references or collocations. It's a fun way to. I described it in the piece as like making a Rube Goldberg machine out of language, a very inefficient, kind of jumping from one topic to the next, really just for fun, which is what it's all about. And if you get the magazine, read that. I'd love recommendations for what the next word should be, because I'm going to keep that chain going. So I got from Kevin to Bacon in 6 steps. We'll start with bacon next time, and if you give me the next word, I will link it to that one, and then we'll just keep going forever until we run out of words.
All right, bacon, something, please, not pork or bread.
Don't make it easy.
We want something difficult.
Don't make it easy.
Yeah. Launch pad, Heather says.
Okay, that might be it.
Might work. Yeah. It's great. This is like be a fun party game. I mean, you could play this, at home, Do the 6 degrees.
We will be releasing the home version soon.
There you go.
The fully licensed home version.
Yeah, I love it. All right, a couple more questions from the audience.
We do, yes. John had a question.
Hi, Nick. Good to see you. He and
Hey,
I
John.
work together. I miss working with you. I want to underscore what Neil said. It is an inspiration. It's sorely needed. So thanks for that. I've mentioned this to you before. I thought it might be interesting here, but I keep on tooling around with where this might fit into independent media. So I know that the model of journalism has long been struggling, and you have a journalism background, and sort of the atmosphere of journalism is struggling too. But where I see a lot of energy, and I'd be curious to see if you think you fit into this and what your thoughts are on it more generally. Publications like Defector or Hearing Things or The Ankler, there's a lot of energy in these sort of self-run independent places. Do you see Paper Airplane as part of that? Is that me overthinking it as I usually do? Are you getting any headwinds or any energy around that in terms of more pickup and things like that? I'd love to know kind of your journalistic thoughts on that and your editorial thoughts.
Yeah. No, I don't think you're overthinking it. I think that there is you're seeing kind of a trend toward this, that not only do the creators themselves want to move to independent media models, you're also seeing subscribers and readers want to do that. Now, I think that the challenge is there's a lot of different Substack to subscribe to. There's a lot of different independent things. One of the advantages I hope I have is that I'm bringing a lot of creators together in one publication, like you used to have. Before you even mentioned it, I was thinking Defector as a great example of this. The print edition of The Onion is really thriving. So I think there's an appetite for it, and I think we're at that point just in terms of economically and content wise, where people are looking for they've seen what has failed, they've seen what has failed them, and so they're really thinking about how can we do this better in a way that benefits the creators themselves. First of all, so that's going to be a big part of my crowdfunding campaign, the ability to pay my contributors a decent rate, because they deserve that for the quality of work that they're doing. So that's a big part of it for me. So I think that there's that trend, and I think we're going to see a lot more of it. I'm excited to be doing it at this time, because I think we're seeing part of the reason why I'm here, and this is because of the kind of collapse of the advertising, online advertising model, and the kind of fatigue for the experiences that kind of brought with it. The web pages with an ad over top of an ad and like a video playing in all four corners, and that's kind of, I want to deliver the opposite of that. Whether it's digital or print, I want it to be entirely for the reader, without any of the negatives that have gotten attached to that over the years.
It was really insightful. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, thank you.
We have Amy up next.
Hey, yeah, thank you. I'm so excited about this project. And I have a couple of just technical questions, really. The first one is, how long did it actually take to put the issue together? Like from start to finish, or however you define it. And then also, you said that you'd tried editing mazes and comics and stuff for the very first time, which is exciting and fascinating. And I want to know, what was the learning curve for learning to do those edits? Did you learn something that's like a special new superpower for editing that you came across there? How was that like?
So I'll answer the first part first. I started this really in earnest in February, and the magazine was pretty much ready in around mid-May, which sounds fast when I say it, but again, I had the time, and people were great about delivering pretty quickly to me. So that was the time frame. Now that's not you know, 7 days a week, anything like that. I still try to keep boundaries around the time that I spent on it. And then in terms of the no, I don't have a new editing superpower. No, because to me, editing is really it's about the same fundamentals no matter what you're editing. Maybe some people here would disagree, but I think it's about careful attention and also assuming that you haven't caught everything. Starting with that assumption. Now, when you're editing a comic, that assumption has to be very deep because there's more going on than just the words on the page. So, when I'm talking to newer editors, I talk about lenses. You have to apply multiple lenses. It's all those lenses you've acquired, not just for grammar or for syntax, but also for basically it boils down to how is the reader going to understand this? Can this be misinterpreted? Can this be confusing? And so with a comic, you have the text, but you also have not only the visuals, but the sequence of those visuals. And also with having respect for the artist, that I'm not going to send them, hey, can you just draw 5 new panels? I'm not going to do that, especially when they're doing it, when they're volunteering their work for this charity effort. So that was something I learned, to be able to make good edits, good recommendations, to also collaborate with the artist, because they're going to know better than me. They'll recognize when I say, okay, this isn't quite working, and they'll say, you're right. Here's my recommendation, because I don't want to make that recommendation to them. I want to have them that's their language that they speak. I want to have them come up with it. So that's something new I learned.
So the artists that you were working with are also the writers. They're doing the whole thing themselves.
That's right, for the comics.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was asking because my first internship editing job was at Marvel Comics. So I got to learn a lot about that, and a lot of the skills that I used there are somewhat different from what I had moving forward. But it was also just fascinating, just like you described, with having keeping an eye on what the artist is doing and following through with not disrupting their vision, I guess. But it's a great way of explaining it. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Sure. Thank you.
So there's 3 things in here: art, expected words. I mean, you came from a dictionary job. You know a lot of word people. A lot of science in the magazine, right? Did it just work out that way?
No, I don't think it did. I think it's this magazine is stuffed with all my interests. So it's really about what I like. I like fascinating stuff. I love just all the ways that things can be beautiful and interesting. To me, I gravitate towards the natural world. I'm a big outdoor person. I'm a birder. So and to my credit, I only included 1 bird photo in the magazine. Could have been a lot more. And yes, it's good to be editor. Neil just said in the chat. I agree, because then that's what's great about this this project, is I can kind of choose all my tastes. Now I do try to make sure that it's broad and diverse interests, but the science is not a mistake. The inclusion of journalists and authors is not a mistake. It's all kind of part of what I want when I dip into a magazine. And I want fun. I want to learn things, but I don't want it to be work. I want it to be interesting throughout. So I hope I kind of achieved that. And at the end of the day, I liked reading it. So
yeah, that's a great thing to. That's what a passion project is, I guess. And so we hope that we can continue to share your passion as we go forward. Really quick, I think we have a couple of minutes, so let's do this. This will be fun. I saw Andrew Roberts was inspired by the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, posted in the chat. Kevin Hart, ventricle bypass surgery, cholesterol, bacon. So
There it is.
he may look easy. So,
Yeah, and the speed with which he did that, Andrew, well done. But that's the great part about this is that it can branch out in many different ways. And so I do encourage home play. With that.
Let's take a look at what you did. I think if Heather's ready to share screen on that.
And there was some etymology. There's always going to be some etymology if I'm working on it. So I think we went from the meaning of the name Kevin. If Heather, if you want to go to next page, you can kind of see here the name Kevin in part from a word meaning handsome. So that I did a collocation with handsome devil. And then I talked about different names of the devil, including the most fun to say, which is Beelzebub, and which name comes from the Hebrew Lord of the Flies. And that's a fascinating story in and of itself. Why that name perhaps is because possibly an ancient pun, which is great that those exist, because of course they do. So the association with excrement was possibly why flies was chosen going into the dung beetle. There's all kinds of differently named beetles named for what they consume or are around. Those are called dermestids. And then one of those beetles is called the larder beetle, aka the bacon beetle. So there you have it from Kevin to bacon in 6 moves.
All right.
And you have a visual pun here. So that's the starts out in the first page as the river. Then it's the what I'll call stink lines from a comic, and then it goes into the bacon finish line for our dung beetle here with the baton, which I was, there's certain things that took me longer than others, and that was one of them. So I'm glad we got to celebrate it.
Well, that's terrific. I think we're all going to be playing this this evening in some form. Should be fun. So when can we expect the next moves in paper? Oh, I never asked why paper airplane. You can't make it. There's no instructions in there for making a paper airplane.
Well, Mark, there is.
There is.
It's buried deep in the back. There's so much content that you.
Oh yeah, I remember.
That's the
now.
great thing. You can keep going back. Well, 2 things real quick. The name paper airplane. There was paper airplanes before airplanes, and so they used to be called paper darts. So that's an interesting fact you'll learn with a diagram from the 1800s at some time. So it's as far as what's next, I'm hoping in the next month or so to launch the crowdfunding campaign, and then I'm working on volume 2 as we speak. So I'm hoping for a quick turnaround time. Sometimes you do crowdfunding and you got to wait 6 months to get your thing. I'm hoping to do it rather quickly. So keep your eyes peeled. In the meantime, if you haven't got the magazine, go to paperairplane.pub, as in publication. You can get it there. And to answer your other question, Mark, why paper airplane? I thought a lot about it. I wanted a name that really was low stakes fun. A little bit of mischief in there. You're picturing a paper airplane flying across the classroom. I thought spitball was kind of too gross. So I landed on paper airplane. And I think it does the job. I think, when you hear that, it's kind of tangible. It's got the word paper in it, which kind of throw back to that. So I hope people get that vibe when they hear it.
Excellent. Somebody asked Patty asked in the chat, paper airplane dot pub, right?
P-U-B, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're at time, and appreciate hearing about this. It's wonderful and fascinating, and I'm enjoying the magazine. I do remember seeing the paper airplane page. I didn't think I would really make use of that because, of course, we've all been making paper airplanes.
That's right. Yeah, it was more for the fact that existed so long ago, longer than you would expect.
Before airplanes, right? We have Stephen Fatsis coming up next month to talk about dictionaries. He's got a new book coming out, years in making. I think it's called Unabridged, about dictionaries. And I think, I don't want to say the date. I don't know. It's a Tuesday, early Tuesday in October. I forget the date off the top of my head, but we'll be back and check the website, and we'll have more information on that one. And thank you very much, Nick. Good to meet you.
Thanks,
No,
Nick.
thank you. Thanks, everyone. Great questions. Mark, it was great chatting with you. It was a lot of fun.